Here's what people get wrong about communication, about effective communication, especially in your relationships. You don't want to manage the other person. You don't want to control them. And this is what a lot of people think subconsciously communication is about. It's like, how do I get them to be what I need them to be? That's not what communication is about. Communication is about revealing yourself. And that's why it's way more important to have clarity, to understand what I want, what I need, how I'm walking through life, what are my assumptions, what are my defense mechanisms, so that I can communicate them with clarity and allow the other person to do whatever they want with that. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be impacted. And if you have any resistance to nervous system regulation, if you're someone that over intellectualizes a lot of stuff, overthinks, loves to be analytical, stick around. As a recovering people pleaser, I used to spend so much time trying to manage other people. First, first I would manage them by trying to make sure that they don't feel bad or wrong in any way, especially if I was around or especially if I was somehow the cause. I had no tolerance to someone feeling bad around me or because of me. And then I learned about conscious communication. And then I thought, oh, you know what? All I need is to communicate myself clearly, and then they won't be hurt, or they can't be hurt. And I won't be uncomfortable. Because if I'm uncomfortable, that means that something is wrong in the relationship and I need to fix it and solve it. In the beginning, I tried to fix by over caretaking. Then I tried to fix by over communicating, over processing, not allowing myself to process things with myself, not allowing myself to have some ability to be in discomfort, to figure out, is this something that I'm holding? I need to address in my own internal world, that they're just a reflection. A lot of people have resistance to the idea that other people are their reflection. It sounds woo-woo, too spiritual. But really, we are creatures of story. We're storytellers, and we each have a different perspective. You know these movies when there's a murder and then they show each day from a different character's perspective, and then you find out, you think that you understand what happened, and then they show it from another perspective, and you're like, oh, that's not what happened. No, because we have our own perspective that goes through these lenses of our own experience and our own traumas. So if my partner says, oh, you didn't do the dishes, I can take that as them, oh, just friendlily reminding me, or or just asking because maybe they want to do the dishes, and I can take that as criticism. And they said it in the same energy. Maybe they're a little pissed off, maybe they're a little aggravated, but that doesn't mean that everything that's happening in me and my narrative is right and it's true. The issue is that it becomes true. If you focus on something, it will grow. If you tell yourself a specific story, then it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think my partner is someone that's mad at me all the time because that's what I'm used to, or my partner is someone that I have to walk on eggshells next to because if they explode, then they will reject me, then these premonitions will come true. There is a limit to the amount of times where you can act towards someone like they're angry at you until they actually become angry at you. They teach stuff like this in all of the social interaction books. If you don't like someone, act like you like them. And that will change the whole experience. Even if you're just doing it from your perspective, it will change from everybody's perspective. Even though it's really not your responsibility to change how other people think and feel, you still have power over how people think and feel. If you keep living inside of your defensive mechanisms, you will see the world through those lenses. That's why clarity through nervous system regulation is so important. Because you can over-intellectualize everything, but your body doesn't lie. The problem is when your mind cannot interpret your body, so it doesn't understand why you're in discomfort. So it blames the other person, it blames the world. And sometimes it is the other person's blame. I don't want to gaslight anyone in an abusive relationship that, oh, they need to do some inner work. No. But the truth is that a lot of relationships are subtle and minute and feed each other's trauma. So if you are willing to do the work, things will change. They might change in the relationship or they might take you away from the relationship. But either way, if you're willing to do the work, to create clarity in yourself, to know how to show up for the relationship, which is for yourself. When you're showing up for the relationship, you're showing up for yourself. It's the same thing. If you're showing up to the relationship and it doesn't feel like you're showing up for yourself, that's a problem. That's where you're not actually showing up for the relationship because you're not willing to show who you are. You're managing, you're controlling, you're walking on eggshells. So what's the solution here? Right, I've given you these doomsday premonitions, but what is the solution? Starting to understand what's happening here and how it's affecting here. Once you start practicing on connection to yourself, everything in your life will transform. Once you're willing to accept how you feel and express how you feel without making anybody else wrong or trying to make anybody else different, but first understanding what's happening for you, slowing down, pausing before you react, responding instead of knee-jerk reaction, creating space for this discomfort of wanting to react, taking a moment, taking a pause, learning to breathe, learning to regulate yourself. It doesn't mean that what you're feeling is wrong or bad. Most of the time, what you are feeling is crucial for you to understand how to act. The problem is that we interpret these emotions as an external source of threat, when the truth is that they're an internal alarm of how we're running our lives and what needs to change internally in our relationship with ourselves. Wow, this has got me riled up. Notice I'm a little bit activated. The first step is sharing with others, maybe even a therapist, that you need support and help with connecting to yourself. Journaling is great, but if it just helps you tell a story of how you're being wronged and how other people are showing up in this terrible way, or how you're bad or you're terrible or you're not good enough, then it's not helping. Try compassionate journaling. Try to treat yourself like your best friend. Try to journal that way. Feel how you feel, understand how you feel, be compassionate and empathize with yourself. Even if you don't believe it in the beginning. I heard this quote, someone said, before you actually sleep, you have to pretend to sleep. That's how you fall asleep, by pretending to sleep, by closing your eyes and pretending to sleep. Fake it till you make it can work because you're carving neural pathways, new neural pathways. You're used to treating yourself in a certain way. So you have to start somewhere. You have to do that day one training of self-compassion, self-understanding, ownership of your experience. I hope that makes sense. If you like this, please comment. Let me know what is the best ways for you to connect with yourself. What are the challenges for you to connect with yourself in an embodied way? Let me know what you want me to talk about and if this resonated for you. I'll see you on the next one.